Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed.
Hey, everyone.
Today, we're jumping into the really fast-moving world of web development.
It really is something, isn't it? Things change so quickly.
Absolutely. And right at the core, you've got front-end frameworks. They're kind of the unsung heroes building all those digital experiences we interact with every day.
That's a great way to put it. And our focus today, it's this pretty impressive report, the State of Vue.js Report 2025.
Right. And this isn't just, any old survey.
No, not at all. It was actually co-created with Evan You, Vue's creator, plus the Vue and Nuxt Core Teams.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's packed. Insights from over 30 experts, 16 case studies, feedback from more than 1,400 developers. It's a really comprehensive look.
So it really gives us a clear view of Vue's, decade-long transformation, pretty much straight from the horse's mouth.
Exactly.
Okay, so our mission today is pretty clear. Unpack this report, pull out the key takeaways, the maybe surprising facts, basically give you a shortcut to understanding where Vue.js stands right now.
We'll be looking at its growth, the big upgrades, what developers really like about it.
And maybe what they feel is still missing.
Yeah, that too. And of course, a glimpse into the future.
And why should you, listening right now, care about this?
Well, it matters whether you're a developer choosing a framework, maybe a manager leading a tech team.
Or even if you're just curious about how modern web apps are built, right?
Precisely. Understanding Vue's path is pretty crucial, actually. It affects hiring, project planning, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, great setup. Let's kick things off with the visionary behind Vue, Evan You. What's he saying about the framework's direction? What are the big things on the roadmap?
Well, he's talked about some pretty significant changes under the hood, specifically a major reactivity system refactor that's slated for Vue 3.6.
Reactivity. Remind us quickly.
Sure. Think of it like Vue's engine, right? It automatically updates your app's view when the underlying data changes. Super important.
Got it.
So this refactor, mainly Johnson Chu's work, it actually comes from a new signals library called Alien Signals.
Alien signals. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, signals are basically a more efficient way to track those data changes. And the really exciting part, this refactor is designed to be fully compatible with the existing Vue ecosystem.
So performance gains without breaking everyone's apps. That's huge.
Exactly. A big win. No need to rewrite your current stuff.
Okay, what else is cooking in terms of optimization?
Evan also mentioned the experimental Vapor mode. Development on that is restarting for Vue 3.6 as well.
Vapor mode.
Yeah, if reactivity is the engine, Vapor mode is like making the whole car lighter, more aerodynamic. It's aiming for even more optimization.
So better performance, less memory use.
Right, specifically at the component level. The goal is a faster, leaner Vue overall.
These sound like pretty ambitious goals, which, naturally brings up funding and sustainability. And that leads us to Evan Yu's new venture, Void Zero. It's sort of spun out of Vite's success, right? Vite being that build tool, that infrastructure layer that, almost everyone uses now except Next.js.
Yeah, Vite's adoption has been massive. It's a really solid foundation.
So what's the big idea behind Void Zero? What's the vision?
The grand vision for Void Zero is to build a unified toolchain.
A unified tool chain. Okay.
Yeah, the goal is to reduce friction, make development smoother, boost productivity for, all JavaScript developers, really. But there is a special focus on those large-scale enterprise projects.
Because they often struggle with complex tooling.
Exactly. Void Zero wants to streamline that whole workflow.
And how does it plan to make money? What's the business model?
So Void Zero will offer advanced tools, think build, quality security tools, specifically aimed at enterprise needs. These will be built on top of the open source Vite Foundation.
Okay.
The profits from those enterprise products. The plan is to use them to keep the core toolchain free and open source for smaller companies, indie developers. Keep that innovation engine going.
That's an interesting model. But, we've seen attempts at unified toolchains before. Rome comes to mind, and they struggled a bit. Why is now different? Why does Evan think Void Zero will stick?
That's a really good question. Evan actually pointed out that Rome started completely from scratch. And their first product, a formatter, just wasn't sticky enough, didn't really pull people in strongly.
Right.
Void Zero's approach is different. It's using Vite as an adoption funnel. That's the term Evan used. Vite is their most considerable leverage.
Because Vite is already so widely used.
Exactly. They're building on an existing, successful, trusted foundation, not starting from zero. It's definitely a strategic advantage.
Still, venture capital and open source, it always raises eyebrows, doesn't it? The
Yeah.
community often has, mixed feelings, worries. How's Evan addressing that?
Yeah, he acknowledged that. His argument is that VC funding can basically offload the risk for really ambitious ideas, things that might be too big otherwise.
Makes sense.
But he was very clear, emphasized his commitment not to, quote, compromise the integrity of the open source work for short-term business goals. He said he's putting his reputation on the line.
And what about control? Who's actually calling the shots?
He detailed that too, said investors hold a very minority stake, and crucially, don't have board seats. So the team retains complete control. The goal, he explained, is finding investors who genuinely understand open source and are aligned with the long-term vision.
So who exactly is Void Zero aiming to help? What do these bigger teams look like?
They're talking about companies with massive code bases, like up to 1 million lines of code, teams of maybe 30 to 50 developers.
Wow.
Yeah, the kinds of teams really struggling with slow builds, long feedback loops, where those small inefficiencies just add up to major headaches.
And Void Zero's tools, built on Vite, are meant to tackle that.
Right. Provide deeper insights into how the code base is evolving, speed up that feedback loop, ensure code quality long term. It's really about enabling efficiency at that kind of scale.
Okay, one last thing from Evan Yu. He weighed in on the whole runtime wars, Node, Bun, Deno. What's his prediction?
His bet is on Node.js. He thinks it is here to stay and will remain dominant.
Why is that?
His reasoning is basically that the other runtimes are increasingly focused on becoming Node.js compatible anyway. Plus, he thinks Void Zero's tooling will kind of smooth over the differences even more.
So stability and compatibility win out in the end.
That seemed to be his take, yeah.
Okay, that vision from Evan really sets the stage for the pace of development we've been seeing. Let's shift gears now and look at the actual upgrades, the ecosystem shifts for Vue and Nuxt themselves. Big news first. Vue 2 hit its end of life back in December 2023.
A major milestone.
What does that actually mean for the core team and for developers using Vue?
Well, fundamentally, it lets the core team focus all their energy on Vue 3. And we've already seen the results, a pretty steady stream of minor releases in 2024.
Like Vue 3.4, the slam dunk release.
Exactly. That one landed in December 23. It brought a rewrite of the template parser, more reactivity improvements, leading to, quote, significant performance benefits.
Nice.
And it also introduced stable new features, like the defined model macro. That one really simplifies how you pass data between parent and child components. Makes building reusable stuff much easier, less boilerplate code.
Okay, and then came Vue 3.5. What was the code name for that one?
Yeah, Tingen Tapa Gurren Lagen. That arrived in September 2024.
And what improvements did 3.5 bring?
More reactivity tweaks for performance and memory usage, plus some long-awaited improvements to server-side rendering, SSR.
Like lazy hydration.
Exactly. SSR is key for fast initial loads and SEO, and lazy hydration helps get content to the user even faster. Oh, and we also got Vue DevTools v7.
Right. The new debugging tool is Vue 3 only, right?
Yeah, Vue 3 only. But with new features, better performance, less memory hogging, definitely worth upgrading if you're on Vue 3.
And speaking of tooling, VitePress 1.0 also landed in March 2024. That seems significant for documentation.
It really is.
Yeah.
VitePress is basically the spiritual successor to VuePress. It's now the standard for docs across the whole Vue ecosystem. Vue itself, Vite, Vitest, Pinia, Views.
So a more unified approach there too.
Definitely. Stronger tooling alignment.
Okay, let's switch over to Nuxt. It had a busy year too, right? Celebrated its 8th birthday in 2024.
It did, and marked it with several minor releases bringing some really valuable features.
What are some highlights there?
Well, better logging, for one. You can even see logs from the server-side rendering right in your browser now, which is honestly a huge help for debugging.
Oh, I bet.
Also enhancements to use async data and use fetch for handling data, route groups for better project organization, and ways to define server-only or client-only pages. More fine-grained control.
And they're gearing up for Nuxt 4.
They are. The Nuxt v4 release is upcoming. But the cool thing is you can already test out its changes and performance improvements using a flag in your Nuxt config.
So you can prepare ahead of time.
Right. And they've actually backported most of the key features to Nuxt 3 anyway, which is great.
So if we zoom out, the big theme for both Vue and Nuxt seems pretty clear. Performance keeps getting better.
Yeah, getting better and better, as the report says, and quite significantly so.
And the developer experience is improving too. And Nuxt is really cementing itself as the go-to meta framework for Vue projects.
Absolutely. Nuxt's focus on reliable development is really evident. They've introduced new testing tools like at Nuxt Test Utils. They have Nuxt Ecosystem Psi to catch regressions.
Trying to prevent those breaking changes that drive developers crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they use those experimental and future flags for rolling out new stuff like the Vue Transitions API. Lets people try things out safely.
And the release schedule helps with that reliability too, right?
Definitely. Weekly patches, monthly minors, yearly majors. It means Nuxt development isn't just driven by hype. It's about steady, predictable progress. Build confidence.
Okay, that covers the tech updates nicely. Let's get into the numbers now. Vue.js by the numbers. Where does it stand? What's the big picture here?
Well, the big picture, according to multiple influential sources cited in the report, is that Vue has consistently maintained its position as the second most popular and used front-end framework.
Consistently second, okay.
Yeah, it's really established as a mature, widely adopted framework with steady growth. It's not necessarily challenging React for the top spot in sheer numbers, but it holds that number 2 position very firmly.
Let's dig into some specifics. What does Statista say?
Statista puts Vue in 8th place overall for developer usage intensity, I guess you'd call it. About 15.4% of developers reported doing extensive development work with it in the past year, or planning to.
How does that compare?
Well, React and Node.js are both hovering around 40% on that metric. So, yeah, Vue's user base doing intensive work is smaller.
But still significant.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially considering, the relative marketing budgets and ecosystem size. Holding that second spot consistently shows really strong user satisfaction, and frankly, that it solves real problems effectively. It punches above its weight.
Okay, now look at these figures from Built With for December 2024. These seem huge. Live sites using Vue grew from 2 million to over 3.3 million in just 2 years.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable growth. And the total number of sites, live and historical, went past 8 million, up from 3.3 million in 2022.
And its share among the biggest sites, the top 1M, almost doubled, from just under 5% in 2021 to over 9% in 2024.
Right, that suggests increasing adoption, not just overall, but for significant high-traffic applications too.
What about downloads, NPM charts?
Firmly in second place there too. 6.4 million weekly downloads. That's nearly double its numbers from 2022. Shows a really consistent upward trend in usage.
And the State of JS 2024 report?
That one shows out a 5x increase in usage for Vue between 2016 and 2024. Again, maintaining that second most popular spot.
When was its biggest growth spurt?
The report highlights 2018-2019 as its most rapid growth period. That lines up with Vue 2.6 and when it started gaining more traction in enterprise settings.
So it found its footing not just with individuals, but bigger companies too.
Exactly. That mix of pragmatism, performance, and being easy to adopt incrementally really hit a sweet spot, and that foundation seems to be serving it well.
What I find really interesting is what the report calls Vue's resilience. It apparently dipped a bit in usage metrics around 2022, but bounced back.
Yeah, it recovered from that dip, and crucially, developer sentiment, how much developers actually like using it, remained high, stayed in the 65–75% positive range.
While React sentiment declined a bit during the same period.
According to State of JS, yes. And Stack Overflow's 2023 survey backs that up. Vue was desired by over 17% of developers and admired by almost 58%. That put it fourth overall for admiration. People who use it tend to really like it.
And W3 Text notes something interesting about high-traffic sites.
Right. They suggest Vue has a strong presence among high-traffic websites compared to React. The implication being it might be favored for performance-critical or large-scale applications where speed really, really matters.
Okay, moving on to developer preferences and trends within the Vue world. The report mentions, based on blog and course views, a strong preference for vanilla Vue.js over meta frameworks like Nuxt, especially for integrating with backends like Laravel.
Yeah, that highlights Vue's flexibility, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just for building standalone single-page apps. People really value it as that lightweight, performant layer you can just drop into an existing backend system.
So you can modernize incrementally.
Exactly. Huge plus for companies not wanting a full rewrite.
What about the whole options API versus composition API debate? Is that still a thing?
Oh, yeah. The report says it remains a conversation, and even a sticking point of confusion and friction for newcomers.
So flexibility is good, but maybe presents an initial hurdle.
It can, yeah. Offering both is powerful, lets people work how they prefer. But it does mean new devs face a choice that can feel a bit daunting initially. Clear guidance is key there.
And on a related note, state management. Big shift there.
Huge shift. Polina has basically dominated the scene. It's used by 80% of respondents.
Wow, 80%. What happened to Vuex?
Vuex, the old champion, has tumbled to 38.4%. Polina's simpler API, more intuitive approach.
Yeah.
It just clearly won developers over.
Makes sense. Okay, what about professional development? There's an official Vue.js certification now.
There is over 900 certified developers already, and the feedback stats are really strong.
Like what?
Like 88% felt the exam accurately assessed competence, 76% said they improved their skills by preparing for it, and 84% would recommend it.
So it's seen as a genuinely useful thing, not just a piece of paper.
Exactly. Suggests it's a comprehensive professional development pathway, a valuable learning opportunity. Plus, in a competitive job market, having that official stamp can definitely help. Shows the ecosystem's maturity, too.
Okay, let's pivot now to hear more directly from developers, the developer voice. Challenges and future hopes. This is based on that survey of over 1,400 people, right?
Correct. And the headline finding is really positive for Vue. A remarkable 93% of respondents said there's a high or very high probability they'll use Vue.js for their next project. That's up from 90% in 2021.
93%. That's incredibly high loyalty.
It really is. And 80% said they would definitely use it again, up from 74% in 2021. Just a really strong vote of confidence from the people actually using it day to day.
What else stood out from the survey demographics or choices?
Well, TypeScript's dominance is clear. It has skyrocketed to become the #1 choice for 82% of developers using Vue.
82%? From what?
From just 38% back in 2021. That's a massive shift towards static typing.
Wow. And Nuxt usage.
Strong integration there, too. 68% of respondents had used Nuxt in their Vue projects. Really confirms its position as the go-to meta framework.
And it looks like developers stick with Vue long-term, too.
Yeah, more than 53% reported using Vue for over 4 years. That's up from about 42% in 2021. So it's not just attracting new users, it's retaining them in companies over time.
Okay, but can't all be sunshine and roses. What are developers saying they're missing? What are the challenges?
Right. Ecosystem gaps came up for 22% of respondents.
Meaning
A demand for more robust, official component libraries. Pre-built UI elements like buttons, forms, menus, things like MUI or Radix in the React world. Developers want solid, reliable options out of the box.
Saves time, ensures consistency.
Exactly. There's also a call for better testing utilities and more modular, enterprise-focused solutions like pre-built dashboards or e-commerce components.
What about mobile?
That's another big one. 15.6% expressed a strong desire for a reliable, officially supported way to build native mobile apps with Vue. That's a common ask across web frameworks, really.
Still some friction with TypeScript, too, despite the high adoption.
Yeah, for about 13.8%. Some find issues with how props work, reactivity, getting types inferred correctly in templates. Things can make adopting TypeScript, well, harder than it could be.
Plus wanting better dev tools, VS Code integration.
Always room for improvement in the day-to-day developer experience. Continuous refinement is key.
But what was the single biggest pain point mentioned?
That would be migration difficulties. Over 25% cited this, moving from Vue 2 to Vue 3.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to migration headaches.
Definitely. Breaking changes, updating dependencies that might not support Vue 3 yet, lack of fully automated tools. It's a genuine challenge for many teams.
Any other major frustrations?
Tooling and ecosystem limitations came up for 17%. Things like the stability of Volar, the main VS Code extension for Vue.
Right, the thing that gives you autocomplete and error checking.
Exactly. And slow language servers, especially in really big projects, plus a perceived lack of high-quality third-party libraries compared to, say, the React ecosystem.
And finally, the job market.
Still a concern for about 13.6%. The perception persists that there are fewer Vue jobs compared to React, and sometimes it's hard to convince management or stakeholders to choose Vue.
Okay, what about Nuxt specifically? Were there Nuxt-only concerns?
Yes. The most frequent complaint for Nuxt users, cited by 26%, was documentation issues.
Documentation. Always tricky.
Yep. Calls for clearer, more comprehensive docs, more examples, more real-world use cases. The good news, as the report notes, is that the docs are being improved all the time.
What else for Nuxt?
Some concerns around ecosystem instability for 16%. Worries about reliable updates, breaking changes.
But you mentioned earlier they're addressing that.
They are. The Nuxt Core team seems to have really shifted towards a safer path for major versions now, including the upcoming Nuxt 4. Proper migration guides, more frequent non-breaking releases. That stability is crucial for adoption, especially in larger companies.
Okay, it's really helpful to hear that direct developer feedback. But let's move from challenges to triumphs. It's one thing to talk stats, another to see how Vue and Nuxt actually solve real problems. Let's get into some of those case studies, starting with Booksy, the beauty booking platform.
Right. Booksy is interesting because they have a really complex setup. We're talking 650,000 lines of code, multiple apps, micro front ends, the works.
And they chose Vue over Angular and React. Why?
The key factor was Vue's easy learning curve. It meant their diverse team of developers could get up to speed quickly. And using micro front ends with Vue let them break down this huge monolithic app into smaller, manageable pieces. Faster feature releases were the result.
What did their developers actually like about coding in Vue?
They found the syntax, what the report calls HTML on steroids, very natural and easy to grasp. Even when building new AI features, it just clicked for them, sped up development.
Okay, next up, GitLab, the big DevSecOps platform. They had a legacy Ruby on Rails app, right?
They did. And they needed to add more interactivity, more modern UI features, but without doing a massive risky rewrite of the whole Rails backend.
So how did Vue fit in?
Vue's simplicity and easy integration were perfect for this. They could sprinkle in reactivity gradually, and the teleport feature was apparently a game changer for them.
Teleport, remind me.
It lets you render a component's content in a different part of the web page DOM outside of its parent component. So think modals, notifications, things that need to appear layered on top. For GitLab, it meant they could build new features as self-contained Vue apps, but then teleport them seamlessly into the existing Rails pages. Fully integrated, but developed independently. Super powerful for incremental modernization.
Very clever. What about Hack the Box? Cybersecurity training platform. They moved from jQuery.
Yeah, they needed better performance and easier code-based management than jQuery offered.
And Vue appealed because...
Again, the gentle learning curve was a big plus for getting developers productive quickly. They also cited a smoother developer experience and better reactivity compared to jQuery.
Anything specific about the coding style?
Yeah, they explicitly said they preferred Vue's clean separation of HTML and script components over React's JSX approach. Just felt more natural to them.
And their migration was smooth.
They described a systematic migration process. Updated Vue 2 first, then gradually adopted the composition API for Vue 3, the end result. Faster feature development and an enhanced user experience. Textbook migration success, really.
Okay, let's look at a nonprofit. Give directly. Direct cash transfers. What was their challenge?
They had an outdated website that was actually hurting their credibility and affecting donations. Not good for a nonprofit.
How did Vue and Nuxt help turn that around?
They used Vue to build a new responsive donation form with real-time updates. Made the whole process smoother, more intuitive for donors.
Performance must have been key too, especially for mobile donors.
Absolutely. Vue's lightweight nature meant fast loading and smooth performance, which is critical, especially if users are on slower connections. Plus, Vue's component architecture let them add features gradually. Nuxt helped with SEO, Vite helps with the dev experience, a real win all around.
Now, DocPlanner,
Yeah.
healthcare platform. Sounds complex, legacy stack, regulations, different countries.
Yeah, lots of challenges there. Varying internet speeds across their user base, too.
So why Vue?
A key factor was that Vue could be implemented gradually into their existing apps. They didn't have to stop everything and rewrite.
And someone championed it internally.
Yes, Jan Solowski, described as a Vue evangelizer, convinced the team. He found that everything in Vue was natural to work with. Its modularity helped with managing complexity, performance was good for global users, and they liked its light opinionation. It didn't force them into one rigid way of doing things.
And they used single-file components.
Heavily. Praised them for enabling rapid changes. Vue also powers their critical UI kit, the Watson design system, ensuring consistency across their platform.
Okay, last case study. Allokai. Headless e-commerce storefronts. What's their story with Vue?
Allokai's mission is all about customizable, high-performance e-commerce. For them, Vue's core advantage was simple. It was 10 times easier for developers to learn.
10 times easier. That's a bold claim.
It is. But that ease of learning was a strong driver for its bigger scale adoption, according to them. Made it much faster to build out their platform and get clients onboarded.
Did they find any other, maybe unexpected benefits?
Yes. This one's fascinating. They actually found an advantage in Vue's weaker market popularity compared to React.
How is weaker popularity an advantage?
Less competition. It meant less competition for finding skilled Vue developers, and also made Alakai a more attractive Vue option for clients who didn't already have a huge team of React experts. They could build competency in Vue more easily.
That's a really interesting counterintuitive point, finding opportunity in not being the absolute biggest player.
Exactly, a surprising strategic edge.
All right, those case studies really illustrate the practical benefits. Let's wrap up our deep dive by focusing on migration. Mastering Vue 3 migration, strategies and successes. We need to stress again, Vue 2 end of life was December 2023.
Right. No more official updates, no more security patches.
Yet the report mentioned maybe 35% of companies surveyed were still using Vue 2 within the last year. That highlights the migration is, well, hard.
It absolutely is a challenge for many.
So let's reiterate for anyone listening who might still be on Vue 2, why is migrating so critical?
Okay, 3 key reasons. First, performance. Vue 3 is significantly faster. The report quotes about 55% faster. That's a direct impact on user experience, how snappy your app feels, and potentially your SEO rankings.
Can't ignore that kind of speed boost. What's second?
Security. This is huge. EOL software means no more security fixes, period. If you're in a regulated industry or have SLAs with clients, running EOL software is basically a non-starter. It's just too risky.
Makes sense. And the third reason?
New possibilities. Migrating unlocks all the new features and improvements in Vue 3 that we talked about earlier. Things like teleport, suspense for handling asynchronous stuff better, multiple root elements and components, and crucially, much better support for TypeScript.
Which leads to more robust, maintainable code in the long run.
Exactly. These features enable new ways of building apps and just make development better.
Okay, we know it's important, but what are the practical hurdles people run into? Why is it so hard for some?
The report points to common roadblocks. Just having a huge code base makes any migration daunting. Then there's often a lack of time, budget, or experience on the team specifically for migration work.
And the dependency problem.
That's a big one, yeah. Crucially, having dependencies without Vue 3 support or a lot of breaking changes can completely block progress. Or maybe using internal Vue APIs that changed. It becomes a complex dependency web.
So given these very real challenges, what's the smart way to approach migration? Is it always a big bang rewrite?
Definitely not. Experts strongly advise against that. A full rewrite is usually not the most efficient migration approach. It's risky, expensive, and takes forever.
So what's the alternative?
An incremental method. Spread migration out over time. Tackle it piece by piece. This minimizes technical debt buildup and spreads the cost.
And you can still build new features while migrating.
Yes, that's key. Migration does not necessarily mean you will be blocked from the development process. It can often happen in parallel with regular feature work. Think marathon, not sprint.
Okay, that sounds much more manageable. Can we give listeners a sort of practical checklist? What are the steps for that incremental approach?
Sure. Step 1, identify blockers.
Yeah.
Really dig in and find those outdated dependencies, libraries that don't have Vue 3 versions, or any places you might be using internal Vue APIs you shouldn't be.
Know your enemy, basically.
Exactly. Step 2, replace or abstract. Find compatible alternatives for those blockers if you can. If a library is really hard to replace, maybe create a wrapper component around it using something like Vue to bridge the gap between Vue 2 and 3 APIs.
Okay, find alternatives or isolate the problem. What's next?
Step 3, utilize migration build. This is at Vue Compat. It's a special build of Vue 3 that provides Vue 2 compatibility behavior. It lets you upgrade gradually, component by component, running Vue 2 and 3 style code side by side for a while, give you warnings about what needs changing.
So it eases the transition.
Precisely. And finally, step 4, refactor and test. As you migrate parts using the Compat build, consistently refactor that old code to use proper Vue 3 patterns. And crucially, test every change. Automated tests are your best friend here to ensure stability and catch regressions early.
Identify, replace abstract, use Compat build, refactor test. Sounds like a solid plan. Methodical, but gets you there.
It does. It takes discipline, but it pays off hugely in the end with a faster, more modern, and more maintainable application.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground today, really digging deep into the State of Vue.js Report 2025. We've seen Vue is still evolving, right? Big updates like the reactivity refactor, vapor mode coming.
Yeah, definitely not standing still. And its market position seems really solid. Consistently number 2, strong growth in site usage, NPM downloads. It shows real-world traction and resilience.
And we heard directly from developers their high satisfaction, but also their clear feedback on ecosystem gaps, migration pains, tooling needs, which is clearly driving improvements.
And Nuxt's commitment to reliability and a stable roadmap really stands out too. Plus, we got some practical strategies for tackling that Vue 3 migration.
Absolutely. I think the takeaway is that Vue.js is a mature, stable, but still dynamic framework. It strikes that balance between being easy to pick up and having powerful features.
Backed by a very active community and core teams that are clearly listening. It's a choice that demonstrably helps teams, as we saw in the case studies, accelerate feature development and enhance user experience.
From small projects right up to complex enterprise applications.
For sure.
So to leave our listeners with something to think about, as Vue really cements its place as this stable, enterprise-ready framework, and you've got AI development tools changing the game, the runtime wars rumbling on, how do you think Vue's core ideas, that simplicity, that focus on developer freedom, how might they shape its next decade?
That's a great question. Will that pragmatism continue to be its strength? How will it integrate with AI? What new kinds of applications will developers build as Vue keeps evolving? Lots to watch.